Hello everybody, welcome to Cabaret Secrets. Today we've got a special on cruise ships. If you're an entertainer that wants to work on cruise ships, as many do these days, we're going to try and give you some answers and a bit of guidance today on how to get there and, well, how to stay there once you've made it. Fella I've got with me now, he's worked in the cruise industry for over 31 years. He started as a DJ, and he's worked his way up from cruise staff. He's done shore excursions and stage and production, and after I think it was only 4 years with Royal Caribbean, he became one of their youngest cruise directors, and he's now part of the, well, I think you'd say the elite takeout team, introducing the latest ships like the Quantum of the Seas, the Oasis, the Allure, and most recently the Harmony of the Seas, where we are today. Ken Rush, welcome to Cabaret Secrets.
Thank you very much. Great to be on.
So I know this question gets asked all the time, but for the people that are listening that don't know, very quickly, what does a cruise director do?
We're in charge, a cruise director is in charge of all the activities and all the entertainment. So it's not just strictly shows. It's, of course, the shows would include all of the cast members. And for instance, on the Harmony, we're talking about the cast members from the Aqua Theater, from Studio B, the ice rink, and from the main theater and the Broadway shows. But also everybody that's behind the scenes, all the technicians that help run those shows. And then, of course, you're talking about the cruise director staff who do the activities, the youth staff who take care of the kids on board, the sports staff who do all the sporting activities, the broadcast team. So there's 200 people in my department.
So you don't really have much to do at all, do you?
Yeah, exactly.
So tell me, so from the point of view, people listening to this that are entertainers that either work on cruise ships already, that would love to work on cruise ships, what kind of acts do you look out for? What kind of acts work best on ships?
The type of acts that work great in our guest entertainer program, or our headlining stars or that come on board, are people who make sure the guests are having a great time at their show. They talk to the guest. They include the guests in their show. They don't talk at them or sing at them or perform at them. They include them. You know, they might not be used to that, but on a cruise ship, you got to do things a little bit differently, and you got to welcome them. You got to make them feel terrific. You got to make them fall in love with you as quickly as possible on a stage. So that's very, very important that we get acts that make the guests feel comfortable, and that get them involved in their show, because anybody can go up and just sing for 45 minutes to an hour, but that's going to become very boring to somebody who's there to be entertained all the way through. Because yes, at a nightclub or a cabaret where they're expecting to be just sung at or something like that for 45 minutes, that's a different story. But when you're on board a cruise ship, they want to be sang to but entertained at the same time. So my recommendation would always be to include the crowd, to talk to them, and get them, invested in the show just like as much as the entertainer is. Any
pet peeves? Stuff you think, oh God, not another one doing this, or there we go again.
Well, I don't know about pet peeves, but it's the cheesiness of the stories of
my granddad.
Not for me, but for my granddaughter. A standing ovation, not for me. Buy my CD, not for me. Actually, it's cute and it can be fine as long as not everybody on the ship on that particular week is doing the same line. So we have to be careful about that. But pet peeves would be to again not talk to our guests, to almost just perform at, because no matter how great you are, that becomes very quickly a show that people are like, he never even said hello to me. She never said hi. She just kept barreling through her show. So I think that's very important.
And what about trying to appeal to guests of different nationalities? Because that is a challenge, isn't it? Right now we're in Europe on this big ship, a lot of different nationalities on board, though mostly for this cruise mostly English speaking, but there are some cruises, as you know, which we call interporting, so you're picking up guests from Italy, then from Spain, and then you got a lot of Brits on board. It's a real challenge for everybody on board, isn't it, to do a show that when English is not the main spoken language, and yet we still need to communicate to them in the way that you're saying, but not too much.
It's a funny thing, like if you're a singer, of course your songs should speak internationally to them. Music is the international so you don't have to speak a word of English, but you know that song. So that's another thing that a recommendation would be, to do recognizable tunes that people understand and
like
get.
worldwide
Yes,
recognizable.
exactly. Because that way people understand what you're singing. They can sing along even if they don't speak a word of English. They understand that particular song. A lot of our acts, too, depending on where you are, I mean, although it works everywhere, but being visual is another great idea. You know, we had Rebecca and Donovan on not too long ago, and they are a vocal acrobatic group. So they are very visual with their tricks and what they do, and that impresses everybody. So you don't need to speak a language to understand what you're seeing there. Again, recognizable tunes is what, getting back to singers and performers, that type of a thing, I think is very, very important. You know, if you're on a ship where there's a lot of people from a lot of different countries, you cut maybe back a little bit of the talking, but perform a little bit more, but make sure that you have something for everybody. So if you know you have a big Spanish contingency on board, maybe you come up and you sing a Spanish song and dedicate it to them, or something that's got that Spanish flavor.
What about show duration?
I would say we're looking at a show anywhere between 45, when you headline, and we're talking about headliner, when you headline, we're looking at anywhere from 45 to 55 maximum. And but you know, sometimes we have what we call the variety shows, and we want each entertainer to do 25 minutes.
Because there's an important thing particularly on a big ship like this, the flow. Tell us about the flow.
Well, we have got so many things happening on board that we want people to go around to the ship, and we want them everything from going to the casino to the shops to live music and the other venues. We want them to go everywhere and spend money and at the same time be entertained. So it is very, very important that the guest flow works. So I can't have an entertainer do an hour and a half show because they're taking away from time where people could be out doing these other things.
It's sort of a way of sort of work it out so that the guests are going to be in the theatre at this time, and then we know that there's going to be 1,500 people are going to move out of that space, and they're probably going to move into this space. You're trying to very carefully augment this entertainment program so that you're sort of figuring out where they're going to go. And if somebody goes too short or goes too long, it's going to screw that up.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what I do. As a cruise director, I put myself in the guest shoes all the time. And I sit there and I say, okay, I'm a guest who wants to dine tonight at 8 o'clock. What is there for me to do? Before dinner or after dinner? I want to dine tonight at 6 o'clock. What is there? Is there a show for me to see? And what time do I need to be done with dinner? So I go through all the different scenarios, and then I tell our guests what these shows are geared for. But a lot of times we will repeat a show because we know that they couldn't make it the night before because of their dinner plans. But this gives them another show, gives them another opportunity that no matter what time you're eating, you'll be able to see the show.
What about visibility on the ship after the show? I mean, some entertainers, they come on, they do their bit, and they just like to hide away in their cabins. Some are a bit more gregarious and mix with the guest. Do you care?
I don't really care about them mixing with the guests. I think it's a good idea, absolutely. I love an idea of if they're selling CDs after their show, if they're on for a couple of days, why not sell it in the middle of the day where people can come by and say hi to you in the Royal Promenade?
Even if you're not really going to sell a lot, just the fact that you're there, you're visible, people say, hey, they come chat to you.
I've always kind of wanted to have what I would like to call an entertainer's corner, and have all the entertainers for the week there, if they were still on board, if they didn't fly off, an actual entertainer's corner where they can just come up and talk to everybody and see how they're doing. So, yeah, I think it's an added bonus. It certainly is not needed. One thing that you do when you're asking for advice for future people, you're billing a recent photo, high definition quality, great photo is very important for us with our technology today, and using our incredible marquees and the digital programming.
All these screens now in front of all the spaces.
And we wanted the best picture possible of every entertainer. We also want the best billing. So every entertainer should know, what do you think will get people into your show? What are the catchphrases?
So we need something a bit more than international vocalist,
right? Exactly.
Gary Williams. We want to say something that's
like the way you do it when you talk about from London's West End, from the Rat Pack. These are the things that
something that sounds good and attractive, but also gives the guest an idea of what they're going to get.
Exactly. Not just male vocalists. We need to know
direct from Broadway's.
Exactly. They want to. They want to know. They want to know some of the credits. They want to know. Oh my God! I heard about this guy that's performed over here, and I love Frank Sinatra style music, and I love this and I love that. I think I want to go see the show.
I've always think that's important because there are some people that are not going to like what I do, and And if that's the case, it's probably a good idea that they don't come and get bored. They don't think it's going to be an instrumentalist or it's going to be a rock and roll show. If they see that it's going to be a swing kind of show that I do and they don't like that kind of stuff, then great. They can. I'm not going to ruin their night for them by persuading them to come, right? And the people that come, they know what they're going to get. There's a thing that we entertainers do sometimes called cold starts, which is where the cruise director that you would traditionally introduce the show, host the evening. Sometimes entertainers do a cold start, so it just starts. There's no introduction. That can be problematic for cruise directors.
Well, a cruise director likes to introduce a show sometimes because a lot of our production shows and our other shows, Ice Show on this ship and the Aqua shows, those are very much the self-starting show. So those we traditionally don't open. So, you know, to have a headliner who also doesn't open, we feel like we haven't ever had the chance to really get to know our guests as well.
Particularly on a short cruise.
Yeah. But at the same time, future entertainers on board our ship need to realize that we're there to pump up the crowd, to get them ready for the entertainer. So even if they had a cold start with a video, it's always very easy for me to say, we've got such a great show. Gary Williams is a wonderful act, but before he comes out here, I want you to take a look at this exciting video that shows where he's been. You know, that type of a thing, because then it still sets it up, and then when you would come out, or anybody would come out, they're all warmed up for it.
And it's important for acts to be aware that, you know, they are part of a very large entertainment program, and that, you know, you need to get face time with the guests as well. Everybody's got their thing that they need to do. It's not just about the act, right?
Right. But I mean, I will respect an act that it says, I absolutely get that you can want to come and introduce us, but this is the way we bring out a show, and if you don't mind, we really want to do it without you opening, and then of course you'll be there at the ending. Is that okay? Yeah, I would hope that a majority of the cruise directors out there would respect that and say, okay, you know what, all right, that's fine. I see what you're doing here, so you guys go ahead and self-start. That's fine.
What about the practicality? When an act comes on a ship, do you like it if they kind of find you out, give you a call, appear, you know, whatever, or do you prefer it if they, you know, because you're busy, you've got a lot to do. So, because I know some acts, I mean, in the years that I've been doing this, I've seen some acts that they're really like, they kind of want to make friends with the crew, they want to hang out, they want to go for drinks, they want to become buddies. I've always been of a mind of, if I like the guy and if he's free, of course we'll go for a drink, but I kind of go on, do my job, try and do it well, and go home again, think he's got enough to worry about. I mean, do you want people to make contact with you?
That's a very funny thing. I think it's a combination of everything you just said. You know, Gary, you reached out and you sent me an email telling me you were coming on board, and you told me about a couple things. That's a great way to get to know the cruise director, especially if you don't know him. But even if you do, a cruise director would love to sometimes spend a lot of time, extra time with the entertainers, but a lot of times don't have the time. So no entertainer should ever feel offended if they don't go out and have drinks with them. It's not anything wrong. And I certainly welcome, I want the entertainers when they come on board to stop by the office and say, hey, I'm here, everything's great.
Literally stop by the office. Yeah. I mean, is that not going to, you know, so what they should say, where's the cruise director's office? Appear at your door. That's not that, because that kind of feels to me, kind of rude. Maybe that you think, oh Christ.
No, to me, I think that's a nice thing. It's a nice, hi, I'm here. Just want to let you know I'm here. Everything's great. I'll see you tonight.
Or maybe
at the
a
show.
phone call.
Or a phone call, something like that. Yeah.
And it's cool if they phone you direct on your deck phone.
Absolutely.
To say, hey, and you're not going to think, just don't talk to me. Talk to the production manager.
No.
Stop bothering me.
I would hope all of our cruise directors, again, I'm on to try and speak for all the Royal Caribbean cruise directors, I hope that they would not have that attitude, because that is an attitude. We don't want to say, don't talk to me, only talk to the production managers. It's a matter of,
because you're busy. So,
yeah,
I mean,
I get we're busy, but you're our headlining stars. You're our entertainers, and we need to take great care of you. That's why when we send out the letters for you guys, when you first come on board, there's a letter for you. And we started many years ago where one of our directors said, can you write a personal note? Whether it be welcome aboard, or looking forward to seeing your act, or welcome back, great to have you here again. It's a nice touch. So when you have that letter, it basically is opening that door of, come on by and let me know you're okay.
And it is nice. I mean, I've worked for a long time now, and I know a lot of people with the company, so I feel sort of part of the family. But yeah. I do remember what it was like very well. You know, going to ships for the first time, not having done the job for very long, you're dead keen to do a great job. You really want to get it right, and you come on, and it's like you don't even exist, because nobody's reached out, nobody's called you, nobody's sent you a letter, except you get a note saying when you're going to perform. So you may be on the ship for 3 days before you're going to do anything, and you kind of want to, is it okay? You want to just, you want to know that someone cares. So the letter's nice.
Yeah, the letter's nice, but everybody does, of course, care. And we do, everybody gets busy in the world. But that doesn't mean that we can't make sure that the entertainer's taken care of, because that's very important to us. Even my directors and vice president of entertainment says, especially if they're a new act, if you get a chance, go to the rehearsal, touch base with them, get backstage early, walk through their show with them, make sure that you, like what you and I did, what exactly do you want for an intro, and so talking about future acts, preparing those credits, preparing that introduction for the cruise director, giving us at least 2 or 3 credits to say on stage, to go over the ending, to make sure that we know exactly how to bring you back. And I'm always very clear about that with the entertainers, even if they don't volunteer. I say, I don't want to step on any lines or any toes. So when you sing the song, let's say, is this definitely done? How do I know when you're done? I want to direct so I don't overstep my boundaries.
But I would say, I think it's also important, really important for the acts not to be high maintenance, because it's easy to, because they're all they're thinking about is themselves. Because it's so important to get the show right. I don't mean that in a sort of in an insulting, egotistical way, but
right.
They could have travelled all the way to Australia from the UK. They could have had 30 hours of travel time. Yeah. They're exhausted. All they're there to do is this one show, and 4 days later they're going to go all the way back again. Of course they're worried about it. So it's the first time. Oh, can I talk to this and this? I'm going to need all these time with the lights. I'm going to do, and you can easily make yourself a bit of a pain in the arse if you're not careful. So it's kind of to keep it in check, right?
Yeah, that's a very good piece of advice. Keep it in check and trust. In today's world, especially on Royal Caribbean, especially on our new ships, our theaters are better than theaters that any of these entertainers coming on have ever probably worked.
They are incredible. I mean, it's true. I mean, I've worked in a lot of theaters in the UK, in London. The theaters on the ship are absolutely spectacular. What they've got is incredible.
So, for them to come on board and be worried about our light techs or our sound techs who run that theater every single night, they have nothing to worry about. Sometimes
we need to trust them, right?
Yeah. Sometimes there's people that will even send us an email before they come on board and say, I'll need 4 hours with sound, 4 hours with lights, 4 hours with the band. And we say, you've got 1 hour.
Yeah.
And I promise you it's going to be unbelievable. And then after the show, they go, oh my God. Because you're working with professionals here. We wouldn't be here if we weren't doing what we're supposed to be done. So, of course, if we do need extra time for an act, we always try and build that in. But yeah, nobody wants to be high maintenance or deal with anybody who's a high maintenance person, because it's not needed. All it is a conversation. Having the conversation with the cruise director, the production manager, saying, I need help here. What do you think about this? And we get it going. And the nicer somebody is to me or to anybody else, the nicer I'm back to them.
Because you're doing this all the time. You've got people, every week you've got somebody else coming in. Tell me about ratings, and how does it, if someone's on a ship and they either they feel they've done a great job or it didn't go so well, they definitely think they love me, I'm going to get loads of work now, or God, that was terrible. I mean, how do ratings work from the guests? How can we make sure that we get rebooked? How much influence have you as a cruise director got over that decision? Okay,
getting rebooked or your show, like people who are especially new to Royal Caribbean, the first time that they ever performed for us, if their show doesn't go very well, and let's say people walk out on it, or whatever the case may be, which is very rare, because for them to even be able to come across the gangway with us, they normally have already been checked out by agencies and by everybody else. So it's very, very rare that we would book somebody new that we were worried about or that we didn't, be concerned about. But there are times that, let's say, somebody's booked and they're not the strongest act in the world. They figure it out very quickly, and they'll, before the second show, maybe change it and realize, oh, that didn't work, maybe I'll try this. So again, your act on land can be the same act on board a cruise ship, or it's got to be, this is my land act, this is my cruise ship act.
That's the case for me. I mean, I hardly ever do what I do on ships. I never do on land.
Yeah,
just a different
It
thing,
is.
Right?
It's a different ballgame. It really, really is. So but as far as my weight or cruise director's weight in getting somebody's rebooked, again, I always have said, even on the high maintenance people that have a little bit of an attitude or whatever, I will never not hire them or ask or not give them a good rating from me just because they have a little bit of an attitude. I always look at guests, and when I watch a show, a lot of times I'm not even watching the entertainer as much as I am watching the guests.
And do you watch the shows?
Yes, I do.
Do you watch them all, even if you've seen the act before?
You
watch the new ones?
I'll watch every act at least one. Like, let's say you're doing 3 performances. I'll sit through one show for sure, and maybe 1.5 shows.
And even if an act you've seen 20 times, you'll still do that?
I'll do for at least one show.
Don't you get bored?
No, because I want to see the reaction. I want to see what the guests are thinking. I want to see how the act is doing, and that's my job, I think, to do. So I will definitely sit through it and not critique it, but just be happy that this is what's happening. The guests are happy, and then that's what goes in the report.
So you send a report, and so how much notice does anybody? You send your reports off. Does anybody read them in head office?
Oh, absolutely. There's even a rating system that we can score our entertainers 1 through 4. And we make little notes on it. Obviously, we don't want 1s and 2s working for us. And I don't remember the last time I gave somebody a 1 or 2, to be honest.
Because by the time, like you say, it's taken people usually. It's been a long journey to actually get on the ship.
Exactly. And it's just it depends on where you're working too. It's if you're working in Europe, you should work a certain way. If you're working out of the States, you should work in a certain way.
Yeah.
So you've got to always tailor make your thing. But the ratings too, yes, the ratings that the guests fill out, the surveys that they fill out, they have a chance to fill out guest entertainers. And
so is each entertainer listed on the thing?
Each entertainer isn't listed, but they'll be very quick to say, if the ratings are through the roof on one particular week, they'll come back and they'll say,
Ken, be in the office and come back to you.
Yeah, they'll say, Ken, who was there again? I'm not sitting behind my computer. And I said, we had Gary Williams on, and I list everybody, and they were like, okay, well, we need to rebook him as often
as
possible.
And similarly, if they go take a dive,
if it takes a dive, what happened?
So
and then I can explain to them. I say, it was a new act. They tried some new material, or even an old act that wanted to try some new material that didn't work.
And you could say, because that's the thing, isn't it? You could have some acts that have been doing it a long time, and they could have a bad night, and it could be because, let's say it was Rome night, it's a busy, everyone's exhausted, the house is really empty, people are tired, maybe there's been something gone wrong on the ship, maybe we've missed 3 ports, it's been raining the whole cruise, it's just a bad cruise, and it's, it just doesn't happen, and you've been, and you can have a bad show. Presumably the act, particularly one with a proven track record, or actually even one without a proven track record, if you go on a ship for the first time, you're given a really duff night and it just doesn't work and it's through very little fault of your own, presumably they shouldn't worry too much, because you, with your experience, are going to look at it and say, I saw the show, I can see it's a good show, despite the fact that there was hardly anybody there and that so we're going to give this guy another chance.
Absolutely.
Or, we don't need to worry if for reasons beyond our control it doesn't work.
But that's very true. That's exactly what would happen. But one lesson I even learned in just recent times, it's been a while since I worked Europe, and on the cruise 2 cruises ago, there were so many Spanish guests on board. On this particular cruise, there's not. We have a big group of people that speak English, but even the Spanish or whoever it is, in America, I might say, hi, everybody, welcome to the show. How are you doing tonight? Make some noise. And then if they didn't make noise, I'd say, come on, what's wrong with you? But now I realize on this type of a thing, I just say, hi, everybody, welcome to the show.
Good evening.
Yeah, good evening. How are you? And then if they don't respond, I say, well, I tell you what, if you're a little tired right now, don't worry about it. Our entertainer's going to wake you up, or I'm so glad you're here, whatever.
So we leave it to them.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
No, but I don't get upset at them. Yeah, I don't get upset at them. I don't push the guest to doing it. So that should be with the act too. You should have the confidence of knowing you have a great act. And if you have a great act, you give it the best shot. And if it doesn't give the standing ovation or the response you normally get, it doesn't matter. You still
because different audiences, like in the States, we all know that Americans are going to stand up. If they've enjoyed a show, they're going to stand up to show their appreciation. It's what they do. Brits particularly don't tend to do that. In Europe, it's harder to get a standing ovation, right? So it's not all about, because I see a lot of acts, they obsess over, I got a standing ovation, which they think means that they're amazing, or if they didn't get a standing ovation, they think they did something wrong, but it's not like that, is it?
No, not at all. And, there's so many tricks, as we know, about the standing ovations, and somebody will actually say, we got a standing ovation. Yes, because you asked them to stand.
You made them.
You said on this last number, stand up and put your hands above your head. Well, no wonder you're getting a standing ovation. You made them.
Doesn't count.
It doesn't count. And I do my little tricks every once in a while. And like when I see a few people standing, I might say every once in a while, that's what you do when you love a show, you give it a standing ovation. Then all of a sudden everybody goes, oh yeah, that's right, I am supposed to stand. Because sometimes they forget. And so, I just realized as I've been doing this for so long that sometimes if I don't hear the laugh, if I don't see them standing up, if I don't hear the screaming, doesn't mean they don't absolutely love it. It's some people are just not demonstrative.
Exactly.
So if they're just smiling in their seats, they might have had the best show, loved the best show in their life. But they didn't make, their faces didn't say it, they didn't say it, but they loved it. So that's all that matters to me.
Exactly. You still love the job, don't you?
Oh yeah.
Thank you so much for talking to us today.
Welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you for listening to this Cabaret Secrets podcast. If you've got any comments or questions, please visit cabaretsecrets.com, where you'll also find details of the Cabaret Secrets book, an indispensable guide on how to create your own show, travel the world, and get paid to do what you love.